Aloha, shalom. We are ready for the first quarter activation. So last week we had the new moon activation, which means about a week ago, we started a new cycle. For those of you who are returning, welcome back to the weekly portal. And for those of you who are watching for the first time, these videos don't actually have anything to do with the moon other than the fact that we use it as a measurement of time. The moon is a reflection of something that's going on inside of us and back of all things. So that means if we're at the first quarter, we're 1 week into a 4-week cycle. So we're just now starting to really understand what we're working with, what themes we're working with, what energy we're harnessing, what lesson we're learning, what gifts we're cultivating. And as usual, I'm tuning in from the lovely Sedona, Arizona. Let me know in the comments where in the world you're tuning in from. And while I'm shuffling everybody into the deck, go ahead and share the live video with your friends, your family, someone you think could use an inspirational message. Maybe you have a friend who's struggling right now. Maybe you have a favorite Facebook group you want to share this with while we're live so that we can all join in. Texas is in the house. Florida is in the house. Santa Cruz, California is in the house. Australia is in the house. Columbus, Ohio. Sweet. And if you don't want to share now, you can wait till the end of the video. This will be loaded to YouTube and Instagram, Rebecca Magic, for those who are not on Facebook. Texas, Florida, Sweden. Awesome, so good to see everybody tuning in. I just want to say thank you in advance to the archetypes, the faces of the one, for bringing us the message they're about to bring us. And just imagine that everybody that's tuning in right now around the world is just holding hands around the planet, connecting. I see it like I'm looking at the globe, I'm looking at the world from outer space, and I see us like light towers just lighting up the entire grid. That's what we're doing right now. And then think about it. When this video gets shared and everyone tunes in after it's gone live, that's still the same concept. It's still continuing to light up the grid. The archetypal realm is outside of time and space, so the wisdom that we receive, we're receiving it from that timeless space. So it doesn't matter when you're receiving this. It's always going to be the perfect time and place because nothing is outside of divine order. So just remember that. If you don't catch these live, it absolutely is okay. Arkansas, England, in the house. I'm just taking out my Hebrew cards. They look like this. There's Aleph right on the end there. Just gonna go ahead and shuffle these two. And the Hebrew letters work the same way as the tarot cards. They actually are each connected to a tarot card, and each of the Hebrew letters is also connected to a particular hieroglyphic symbol. So, starting with the tarot, and again, just thank you to the parts, the faces of the same one for putting together this map that's going to help us move through the week ahead with the most grace and with the most ease so that we can most efficiently use our energies, not just alone, not just individually, but together. So what is the challenge that we're facing right now? Which is the card that's going to tell us exactly what challenge we're facing this week as the challenge shifts from last week to this week? What is something we need to leave behind? Something that is holding us back, something that is dead weight. So when we let this go, we will have our energy and power freed up to move through the current challenge much more powerfully. And then which Hebrew letter is the ally of the week? Which Hebrew letter represents the force that is going to help carry us through the week ahead? Okay, starting with the challenge of the week. Starting off with a queen. And swords is the suit of challenges. Okay, so the Queen of Swords would be the heart of the challenge, the intuition within the challenge. And in order to come to a place of understanding about the feelings of a situation, the true feelings of a situation, the heart of the matter, the heart of the challenge, the intuition that whispers within the challenge, the voice that guides you to the answer, those are all tapped into by our feminine archetype, by our inner feminine power, our feminine force. So the challenge of the week is asking us to look at, where are we experiencing challenge in our reality right now? And go to the most obvious one. Of course, there can be many challenges. You can probably point out many challenges you're going through right now. So many are experiencing challenging times in the world right now. But what's the first thing that pops into your head? Use that scenario as an access point into this story. So what's the biggest challenge in your life right now? How can you better tune into the feminine aspect of you as you analyze or reanalyze the situation? Perhaps it's something that's been running through your mind over and over. Maybe it's something you can't even get out of your head because it's so challenging. But what we're being asked to do is slightly switch our perspective to a more heart-centered one, a more feminine and receptive one, which means looking at where within our challenging experience we've been resisting instead of accepting, resisting instead of trusting that this too is a part of the plan. How can we pause within the challenge and not act, take more action, because sometimes we end up running in circles. How can we actually pause and stop acting? Stop inserting our piece, stop inserting our words, stop having to get the last word in. How can we instead surrender? Take time, pause, be silent, tune in instead of act out. And you might say, well, this challenge is time sensitive. First of all, if your challenge is time sensitive and you're scrambling to come up with a solution, within a certain time frame, you've got to remember that all things that are bound to time are impermanent. The things that are actually important and valuable are the things that last forever. And the only things that last forever are the virtues, the light of the virtues. So don't lose yourself so much in any situation, especially if it is confined to time and space. You will get there. You will make the decision you need to make in the perfect moment, even if it's too late as judged by your human mind. You're always right on time. You're always right on time. Because everything is God's directive. Everything is the Creator's directive, and everything is built upon the divine design. That design, that code, that blueprint is back of all things. There is no escaping that. So the more we resist, the more it's a chance for us to see how silly that is. It actually makes no sense to resist what is. You already know that. And so, no matter what excuse the ego can give right now for, no, you need to take action right now. You need to say something else. You need to do more. Pause. Even if it's just for a moment, stop the chaos in your head. Find a bit of silence. Doesn't matter how much or for how long. Remember, the archetypal realm is outside of time and space. It doesn't care. It's simply saying, change your tune. Change your course. You've been acting, going, doing, saying. For a moment, pause. And be silent, be still. Go back to nature. Create a space where you can be fully in the energy of who you truly are, which is a being of light. Completely unbound by time and space. Do whatever you need to do or don't do. All the things. Just don't do. Whatever you need to do or don't do. Arrive at that place where you can feel your true self. Where you can feel that you're in that space of timelessness. Where you can remember your truth. Because from there you will be better prepared to make decisions you have to make whatever decisions you have to make. Okay, so the Queen of Swords is saying, whatever challenges you're going through right now, remember the challenge behind it. Remember the opportunity within the challenge. What is the challenge trying to offer you in terms of your psychological and spiritual growth? Is the challenge perhaps trying your patience? Is it trying your ability to show up, be honest, be kind, be patient, be loving, be supportive? Is the challenge calling you to look at the ways in which you've been holding on to anger, resentment, anxiety, jealousy? What's your biggest challenge, and how can you identify the vice within that challenge? What vice are you embodying because of the challenge? It's not about the actual challenge in the material realm. It's not about the people, the names, the faces, the places, those material details. It's about how is your lower nature being triggered right now? And how can you not just accept the challenge, but accept that trigger and accept the ugliness and the darkness that you want to respond with, because it's there. If it's coming up and you're wanting to respond from that space, it's there, and that's okay, and that's perfect. We don't want to deny that. We want it to come up so we can see, hey, what is so easily being triggered in me? How can I allow that to come up so I can feel it, so I can reason with it, so I can be the observer of those things, so that I can then stay in a space where I can rise above the vice. I'm still obviously experiencing it, I'm still embodying it, but I'm also simultaneously rising above it and remaining as the observer, so that I can then, with that information, make a change. It's through identifying the vice that I can then extract the correlating virtue and know my trajectory, know my divine course, know where God is surely guiding me next. Because if I'm feeling like I really want to be dishonest, God is guiding me to learn how to be more honest. It's as simple as that. If my challenges are triggering anger in me, it is an opportunity for me to release anger and find peace and acceptance. If I'm feeling jealousy, perfect. Because now I can identify the neutralizing force, which is support, to be supportive, to be compassionate, to be inspired rather than jealous and resentful. So you definitely don't want to look away from the vice. You want to look right at it. And then you want to remember the Hermetic law. Everything has its opposite, and that opposite lies hidden within. So if you're experiencing the vice, great. What is its opposite? Now you know the work you have to do to go from the vice to the virtue. Now you know the work to do to go from vice to virtue. There's no identifying the virtue unless you go through the vice. So this week, the challenge is asking for us to see, how can I be more in my heart through this challenge? How can I stop getting so lost in the emotions? Because this is also how it will manifest negatively. If you're not in your power, what's going to happen is you're going to be overly emotional within your challenge. You're going to feel like you're drowning in your emotions. You don't have the clarity to understand your emotions or the mastery to be able to then use what you're feeling to take conscious action when the time comes. So how do you want to experience your challenging times right now? There are always going to be challenges. There are also always going to be blessings. In fact, they're one. The challenge is the gift. So get over that part of it. Yeah, you're experiencing a challenge, and you will again and again. What's more important is not the details of the challenge, but how you're growing through it, your ability to rise above the situation to see the opportunity that lies therein. That's the real important thing here. The challenge will fade away. All the material details of the challenge, they're all impermanent. They will fade away. But what are you making of this? Okay, it's the queen. So are you going to allow yourself to drown in your emotions? Or are you going to remember that you're not just this card, you're the whole wheel, and we're just accessing it through this card. You're also the King of Swords. You can use your mind. You can use your intellectual force to make proper decisions, to make wise decisions based on the feelings and the heart of the situation, which simply guide you to the truth. But our emotions are powerful. They are our power. They are magnetic. They are like electricity. And it can be overwhelming. So this week, when you start to feel emotionally overwhelmed, especially in your more challenging situations, remember that the most challenging thing about it is our subconscious desire to hold on to the embodiment of the vice that comes as a byproduct of that challenge, that is being triggered in you as a byproduct of that challenge. That's what's really important. And deep down, what happens is we feel this guilt or sorrow or anxiety because deep down, we know, our true self knows where we haven't been behaving in our highest light. And so we might, rush through our lives thinking, oh God, this is challenging, this sucks, this relationship is really hard, this project is really difficult, I'll never make it through this endeavor, I really wanted to get this done, but I just can't. And we struggle, instead of looking at what's really challenging about these things, our own limitations, our self-imposed limitations, our inability to show up as supportive, kind, loving, accepting. When we can't show up as those things, we build up inside of us these yucky feelings, this, subconscious sadness, guilt, shame, all these things. And those things, those lower frequencies, shame, guilt, whatever, manifest as obstacles along the path. Because if we truly do our best to cultivate the light of the virtues, there will not be any of that subconscious shame and guilt, and we will feel our best, and we will feel so empowered to move in any direction of our own choosing, because we know who we are, we know what we came here to do, we know that we have free will, and it is our mission to align that will with the will of the divine. And so when we have all that knowing and we align ourselves with the forces of nature and the universe, it creates a harmony, a harmonious and synergistic flow between you and everything, everyone. And then you don't experience as many obstacles because you have the willingness and the faith and the persistence to keep going. But when we are more in the vices than the virtues, okay, when we blow up out of anger all the time, especially when we're not working at it at all, when we're just allowing ourselves to be fully in that vice, when we're angry all the time, we're jealous all the time, we're dishonest, we're impatient, when we're all those things, we create an anxiety within ourselves. There's this horrible feeling in our gut. And that's what we carry around, and that is what manifests all of the obstacles. Okay, and so if you're carrying a lot of that resentment or anxiety or shame, guilt, whatever inside, it holds you down like a weight. And then when you're going through your challenges, you're more likely to be weak. You're more likely to give up. You're more likely to just surrender your true dreams and desires. Because deep inside, you're telling yourself, I'm not good enough. Deep inside, you're telling yourself, I don't deserve this. And you know why? Because you don't. Because you set that program up within yourself. Because deep down, you know what your truest, highest light is. And when you're not being that, you subconsciously punish yourself. So if you want to be able to really feel your feelings, first of all, to even feel them, to feel your heart, then you have to get into an embodiment of the virtues. If you even want to be able to get in touch with that space, you have to be in resonance with that space. And that space is the container for the light of compassion, the all virtuous light. So you have to embody any of the virtues as a river that leads to that ocean of compassion. Any of the virtuous embodiments will put you in touch with your heart. That's the first step. You get in touch with your heart. You reach your own center. Then from there, depending on how clear you are, depending on how strongly you can hold a resonance with the heart, depending on how hard you've worked on cultivating those virtuous lights, will determine how long you can stay in that space. And depending on how long you can stay in that space will determine how you go through your process of self-analysis, how long you will have to really sit there and look at your feelings and actually sit with them and allow them to speak to you, to guide you, to tell you who you really are, what you really love, where you want to go. If you want to be able to hear the voice of the heart, the guidance of what your feelings are even showing you, you need to be able to hold a virtuous frequency so that you can stay with the heart. Stay with the heart. But when you slip, you slip. You slip from your center and you're unable to hear the voice of truth because you are so busy crying, screaming, isolating, whatever it is you do as an unhealthy response to traumas and triggers in your life. But instead, if you can hold that virtuous light and you can stay connected to your heart, it will speak to you and it will tell you how you can most gracefully move through the challenge. A big word for the Queen of Swords is sovereignty. Until you reach a certain level of sovereignty, you will keep getting distracted. You will listen more to the voices of others than your own inner voice. Because you won't have that solidity. You won't have that groundedness in the heart. And you'll instead listen to all of these forces outside of you. And remember, a lot of those voices and those opinions and those judgments are based on other people's traumas. Okay, so whatever source is giving you that advice or that information, be aware that they too, like you, are on this journey. And their advice is being filtered through their own experiences and through their own beliefs. And so then, if you just listen to whatever they say, you just end up giving up your sovereignty, giving up your accountability within this process of cultivating emotional mastery, in this process of cultivating the tools to get through a challenge. Don't give that up. Don't give away your power. And then you end up taking the advice of someone else who's just speaking from places of unhealed trauma. And as a result, you end up living out, karma that's connected to them. Why would you do that? Even if it's hard, even if the process is hard to get to the space of sovereignty and to get to the space of being able to really look at your emotions and allow them to guide you, even if it's hard, let it be hard. Don't cheat yourself. Don't cut corners. Sit with this process. You're going through it for a reason. If you keep giving up your power and you keep trying to cut corners or skip this step in the process, you're just going to end up right back where you started. Okay, so this is just the challenge card of the week, the Queen of Swords. Really being sovereign in your ability to go within without anything or anyone outside of you, to go within and be able to feel the feelings that are in your heart and to be able to, on your own, really get a hold of them. Not let them overtake you, but allow them to speak to you. The Queen of Swords can sit with everything she's feeling and come to the proper conclusions. Her emotions speak to her. They do not drown her. And if they do drown her, that's okay. That's a temporary situation. It's a lesson that she learns. And eventually she strengthens her ability to do what she came here to do. This is how all the archetypes work. They have a negative embodiment and a positive embodiment. And the thing is, even when you embody them negatively, it's just lessons which become blessings. Okay, so this week, look at how you are handling yourself emotionally as you move through your most challenging moments. And really reflect on your responses in those moments and understand that that reflection is giving you material to be able to strengthen your own emotional mastery skills, to be able to honor your emotional process and allow it to guide you through all of your challenges. Whew. Something we need to leave behind in order to do this. So we have a Queen and a Major Arcanum card. The Devil, aka the Black Magician. This is something we need to leave behind in order to do this. So, in what ways have you manifested a reality out of the desire to stay comfortable, out of the desire to avoid your emotions? So this week, it'd be really good to look at the comforts in our lives, the things that we become comfortable with, routines in thought, speech, and action. Especially look for routines. Where have we become comfortable? And set ourselves up that way so that we can avoid growth, so that we can avoid, especially, doing things alone. What are some things that you've been afraid to do alone? Maybe some thoughts you've been afraid to visit alone, even inside your own head. Maybe there's an experience you went through that you're not wanting to even look at, you're not ready to process yet. Maybe it's something really heavy on your heart and you don't want to look at it alone. That's just one example, okay? Let's roll with that because that's a pretty clear one for many of us, I think. What situation are you scared to process alone? And how can you see what habits you formed? Okay, drugs, alcohol, could be anything though. I'm talking about anything that you can use to be an escapist. So, maybe going out to clubs, or maybe you formed a new shallow relationship to keep you distracted, or you bought a new car that just took all your money and you don't actually really want it, and now that's your new thing. What are you distracting yourself with? In order that you can avoid looking at the thing you haven't wanted to look at. And the important thing is you have to remember, whatever that thing is that you're avoiding, it's the very thing you have to face alone. Alone equals all one anyway. So really look at that. What does it say, in fact? What does it say about your attachment to wanting that support or wanting someone else to help your heart decide? No one else can make your heart decide. No one else can tell you where your heart is guiding, because the heart doesn't work quite like the compasses you and I know. It's inside. I can't look there and say, oh, your heart says north, so I guess you got to go north, buddy. It's a feeling. The heart guides in a way that is beyond north, south, east, west. It's beyond direction. The heart operates from that archetypal realm, from that place of oneness, outside of time and space. Only you know what it's telling you because it beats inside your chest. But you can see how these two cards are so connected. It's like, in order for you to even feel your heart, in order for you to even get in touch with what direction to move in order for you to move through the challenge, you need to get to the heart to move through the challenge, right? Well, we cannot get to that space, to that heart space, when we're tied up in vice. We just spoke about this. The devil this shouldn't be something scary to you. The devil is simply a force that we feed that is in opposition to our truest desires, to our truest self. When the devil shows up, it just means that we're giving our energy to conflicting sources. We want to be all on one team. We want to be aligned, mind, body, and soul. We want to have our contracts aligned. We don't want to be contradicting ourselves. We want to be clear, and we want that clarity to help us make decisions in thought, speech, and action. And each moment as we make those decisions, we can trust that we're headed in the right direction. Whether that's north, south, east, or west doesn't really matter at that point. So it's very clear. It just confirms everything we already said with this first card. if we want to be able to get through whatever challenge we're going through and really lock in the lesson that's within the challenge, so that next challenge we have, we'll be able to apply these tools that we're gathering now and grow even more from there. If we want to do that, if we want to be the most successful in our current challenge, it's about getting in touch with our heart, our own heart's truth. And we cannot do that. We cannot even touch the heart if we are wrapped up in vice. If we are so busy giving our energy and our awareness to vices, to things that are not in resonant with truth, to all of our distractions, then that's where our energy will go. Like a black hole, will just be giving it all to the distractions. You can't be giving it to the distraction and to your heart at the same time. You have to be fully present in whatever endeavor you are in. Okay, so if you really want to get in touch with your heart and you really want to move through your current challenges, this is the path to doing it. And remember this, okay? It's not as simple as meets the eye, okay? For example, you can, let's say you have a pretty bad addiction, whatever it is, I don't care. Let's say you have a bad addiction. And right now you're thinking of that addiction, you're going, oh, well, I know I need to let it go if I want to get in touch with my heart and really break through my challenge once and for all. Because you know that whatever challenge you're experiencing, it's something that you've been experiencing forever. It's just a new face, a new situation for the same thing that you haven't been able to break through. And that's what life does. It will keep manifesting new situations, but same old challenge. Okay, so you're thinking right now, oh, I know exactly what it is I need to let go of or stop in order to finally make it through. But then things might look up tomorrow, and life might show you a reflection, an illusion that has you thinking, well, I can still get away with it. I don't really need to give up my addiction. I think now things are looking a little easier. Yesterday, it looked like I was going to have to give it up if I wanted to pursue the truth. But today feels like I can get away with it. So I'll just forget that, just brush it under the rug. You can't do that. There ain't no hiding place from the Creator. You can't hide from yourself. There's only one here. And you can bet that as soon as you make the decision to stop that bad habit, stop doing that negative thing, stop embodying that vice, the universe is going to make it more tricky and more challenging. And it's going to give you more opportunities to do the opposite. Because that's how we strengthen our will, not the other way around. So as soon as you identify those bad habits, those bad ways of thinking, speaking, doing that need to be let go of, expect the universe to bring in all of the opportunities to keep going with it, to not let it go. Because when it's easy to let something go, we don't really gain anything from that. But the more difficult it is to let something go, the more powerful the sacrifice and release, and the more powerful the manifestation that follows to neutralize that energy and take up that space. So you will be tested, whatever it is you're identifying that needs to be let go of, that needs to be stopped or transformed. Understand that you're going to receive some friction, some resistance, and that's simply the ego testing you and trying to justify staying in a space of darkness, suffering, grief, anxiety, literally aging, and disease. Misery loves company. So just be prepared. It's not something to be scared of. It's something to be excited about, something to feel inspired by. Identify what needs to be let go of and be prepared to do whatever it takes when that darkness tries to hold on. Okay? Look at this image right here. You have the devil and then you have the Queen of Swords. He's like, yeah, he's looking at her like, and she's like, no, I'm going to get you. No, I'm going to get you. She has her sword up, her sword of truth. And she's like, don't look at me and think that I'm just going to drown in my emotions. I've mastered this part of the story. I've got a hold on my emotions. I feel, I sense, I hear the truth behind what I'm feeling in my heart. And it's going to guide me to and through you, Mr. Devil. I'm going to cut your head off. Okay, so just look at the imagery. The images always tell you everything you need to know. Symbolism is the universal language, so check it out. You can put these on your altar, Queen of Swords and the Devil, if you'd like. Okay, so if you want to get through a challenge you're experiencing once and for all, not just on a material level, but all the way to the world of causes on a spiritual level. If you really want to do that, you've got to get in touch with your heart, and you've got to stay there. You've got to really feel it, and you've got to receive the truth, and then you've got to act on it. But you won't even get anywhere with this challenge this week, with this process, until you're willing to give up your distractions. And the first step is actually being honest with yourself and owning what have you created in your life to be a distraction, taking you away from the process that you know you need to be giving your awareness to right now. What challenge has been offering you an opportunity to become more sovereign in your emotions and in your ability to make decisions, because the Suit of Swords is all about decisions. So what process are you going through right now that you're trying to avoid all that? You're wasting your time. Whatever distractions you think are helping you and keeping you distracted are just buying you more time to suffer. And the universe doesn't care, because suffering is not real anyway. This body's not real, and it all goes away in the end. So suffer as long as you would like. Suffer as long as you need to, until you're ready to take accountability and move through this process. Yud is the Hebrew letter ally of the week. And you can see, if you Google, the Yud will either be spelled Y-O-D or Y-U-D, in case you want to look it up, study it, put it on your altar, make it your phone background. And the Yud is the 10th letter of the alphabet. And it is symbolized by a hand. And the Hebrew word for hand is yad. So yad, Yud. And it is, when you look at it this way, that it's represented by a hand, you can see it as the hand of God. Whenever we look at the hieroglyphic symbols that are correlating to the Hebrew letters, we can find out its meaning, its essence, when we consider the divine. So if it's a hand, we think hand of the divine. So it's the hand that holds the pen. It's the creative hand, the grand architect. Okay, and the number 10 reveals so much as well. 10 is a new start of the wheel. 1 through 9, 10 begin again. In fact, the tarot card connected to this letter is the wheel, card number 10. Okay, and to me, this is incredibly obvious why this would be the ally for the week. It's saying, look, I know you've been really comfortable with whatever bullshit you've been attached to. It's really, enough is enough. It's time to cut it out, and it's time to strengthen yourself. And the only way you're going to do that is by doing it yourself, through your own internal process and then your actions upon that process. It's just time for a new cycle. It's up to you to take your hand and spin that wheel of fortune and fate. It's in your hands. Spin the wheel. This is why putting together tarot in Hebrew is so cool, because it creates a bigger picture, right? In tarot, it's the wheel, but in Hebrew, the Yud is connected to the hand. So you see the hand and the wheel. You have your hand on the wheel. Ultimately, yes, everything is in God's hands, and the Creator has the wheel, but you are in that reflection. You are the microcosmic man. You too have a wheel in your hands. You have free will within this field. So it's about remembering that and taking a new spin, taking a new turn, directing the wheel the way that you want to go. And in order to turn the wheel this way or that, in order to direct your fate toward curse or blessing, all you have to do is consider vice and virtue. Vice or virtue, vice, curse. Virtue, blessing. Vice, curse, virtue, blessing. This is that's it for the operation manual for this grand spaceship that you're operating, this Merkaba, this vessel, this light vessel, whatever you want to call it. The vehicle, the vessel that is you. This is all it says in the operating manual. One way vice, other way virtue. One way curse, other way blessing. That's it. That's all you need to know. So if you want to direct your fate toward darkness and curse, follow the path of vice. And know that the only thing that's real and the only thing that lasts forever is light. So if you go in that direction, you're just going into a world of futility, darkness, and impermanence. I'd rather turn the wheel in the other direction. I don't know, maybe that's just me. I would rather turn the wheel in the other direction towards blessing, toward virtue, toward light, which is toward immortality. I don't want to steer toward disease. I want to steer toward wellness and vitality. I don't want to steer toward death. I want to steer toward eternal life. So this is the reflection that the Yud offers us this week as the ally. The Yud is also seen as a point in time and space. That first point, it's like that first mark we make with a pen. It's like a fresh beginning. It's the blueprint for what's to come, for the rest of the story. So what is the first step you're going to take this week as you turn the wheel, as you make a change, as you prepare for a new beginning? What's the first step you're going to take? So remember, with the Yud as our ally, we are being reminded that our hand is on the wheel and we can direct it this way or that. We can go toward vice, death, suffering, or virtue, eternal life, joy. This needs to be let go of because it's only going to direct that wheel toward the suffering and the death and the darkness and the vice. So this week we have the opportunity, with the support of the forces of nature and the cosmos, truly, now more than ever, we have the opportunity to say enough is enough, to cut the cord on all of those ways of thinking, speaking, and acting that are keeping us stuck here and leading us toward death and disease. Enough. Time to come back to the heart and allow the heart to be our guide, our protection, and our inspiration through the challenge so that we can direct that wheel in the other direction. Whew. I really enjoyed this message. Thank you, everybody, for being here for this activation, for being in the portal, for sharing this message with your family and friends who you think could benefit from hearing this message. The recording will go to YouTube and Instagram, so if you don't have friends on Facebook, they will be there as usual. And thank you to everybody who has been supporting me with my books. I know a lot of you are asking about my children's book. I really hope to get that going soon. Totally different card concept in the works, so I'm excited about that project and maybe making some more custom Hebrew decks because a lot of you have also requested that. I'm just still so in love with my first books, 1 and 2, because they are my babies and they really encompass the truth of what ancient tarot really is. And I would love to see people activating their ability to connect to the archetypes directly. You know, yes, I do one-on-one readings. Feel free to reach out to me for a reading, but know that it is my passion to empower you to connect direct to the archetypal alliance, because there's only one, and this same one alliance is my alliance, your alliance, our alliance. We are a part of that alliance. There's only one. And so it's really my passion to help others understand how to connect without using me as a bridge. You don't need a bridge. It's inside of you. I do have 2 magicians kits available for those of you who don't know what they are. They are little packets that I put together a couple of years ago with a tiny little symbol for each of the 4 elements. There's a little metal grail for cups. There's a little quartz wand in there. There's a little metal sword. And there's a little pentacle coin. And they go on your altar or wherever you want. You can keep them in a little pouch under your pillow. If you look at the magician card in the tarot, you'll see on his table are those 4 tools. So if anyone's interested in purchasing, I do have 2 left. I haven't posted that yet, but I figured I'd share now. And I think that's it, you guys. I'm excited for the week ahead. I'm really excited for the full moon next week, so I'll see you for the activation 1 week from today, of course. And just thank you for doing this work. You know, thank you for doing it, especially when it gets hard, especially when it gets difficult or uncomfortable, because that's where the magic truly happens. By law, that's where the magic happens. So I'm grateful for every moment on this path. I'm grateful for all of your moments on your path, and I'm particularly grateful for the difficult times as they forge us to be the beings we came here to be, to bring this earth into harmony, to live our mission, to bring heaven to earth. It requires that staying power in the difficult moments. It requires using our free will to consciously activate the light of the virtues within us and to do something with that, light. So thank you for doing this together with me, with all of us. So good to see all your love. See you guys next week. Aloha.